Hi, I am Sunil Basserker. Geotechnical engineering profession presents me with a unique opportunity to be associated with the most challenging projects. Take diaphragm wall for example. It requires a high degree of skills. Diaphragm wall of 3.5 kilometers afforded a development of a world-class riverfront project across River Sabarmati at Ahmedabad. Diaphragm wall also had been constructed at a very crowded locations of cities like the car parking project at Kamla Nagar at Delhi and the Delhi Metro Rail project. At Ghana, I am involved in 1.6-meter diameter RCC Raker pile for Volta Bridge project. Imagine this pile is 1:5 rake angle, requiring driving of 65 long steel liner through a 35 deep dense sand layer by all powerful 230 metric ton vibra hammer. With the pile length more than 75 meters, with the drilling operations by RCD rig, these raker piles are set to create a global standards of sorts. Take another unique example, a unique feat at Mundra at Gujarat in Western India. We had about 560 diameter of driven cast institute pile, 70-meter depth that could be executed in a short span of 30 minutes against 2 hours time required by a boat pile. An incredible number of 8,821 driven cast institute piles were executed in a short spell of just 5 months at this site. It will be a matter of pride as a geotechnical engineer to be associated with the landmark projects like India's first underwater metro tunnel at Hooghly, world's highest Atal tunnel at Rohtang at 3,000 meter altitude, also being part of a 20,000 odd piles of various forms executed in a single project. Imagine all these piles can be laid in an array that can take you from Mumbai to Vadodara flat. The challenges keep on coming, and that's what makes a geotechnical engineering an interesting profession. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar 3, Foundations for Future. I'm Lucky Nagarajan with Geek in America Corporation, and I'm also the chair of the Women in Deep Foundations Committee, DFI. I'm also the co-chair of the DFI of India Support Committee. So just wanted to give you a quick note. Recording of this webinar is prohibited. Online webinar recording will be available on DFI India YouTube channel in 2 weeks. Webinar 1 and 2 recordings are right now available on the YouTube as well. So before we jump into the webinar, let's go through the attendee control panel. As you can see, the orange arrow showed on the screen is to hide the control panel to view clear screen. And if you want to view the webinar in full screen mode, you can press the button that looks like a file. And you can actually enter the questions anytime during the session where you see enter a question for the staff. We can ask those questions to the panelists as we go, and we will also request for the questions at the end of the panel discussion. So we always like to start with the mission statement. Women in Deep Foundations is actually for both women and men. We like to advocate, support, and mentor women in deep foundation industry. Our mission is to enhance professional development opportunities for women in the deep foundation industry. So what do we do? USA Women in Deep Foundations program organizes lectures, organizes networking options, networking receptions, professional development grants. We will talk about it in the next few slides. Regional networking groups. There is a group in Pittsburgh, there is a group in New York City, and there is a global group. Professional development workshops and industry academia partnerships. And we also have lanyards. As you can see in the picture at the bottom, you can see the lanyards that Akanksha is wearing, and also Mary Ellen is wearing, Teresa is wearing. The lanyards support, that means like you're supporting other women in the industry. How did we start Women in Deep Foundations India group? During the 2018 conference, we launched the India group. To launch this, we had Anjana Khadakia, Senior Principal, Director India, Thornton and Tomasetti, present on Women in Engineering in India, her story, her life as a civil engineer, and her career, and how did she start the office in Mumbai. So one thing she left us with is do something you love and you will never work a day in your life. That is so true. So following year in 2019 conference, we brought back three powerful women in the industry, Teresa Engler, who is the executive director of the Foundation Institute, Annapurna Iyer, who is the founder of the NGOSIM Consultants, and Ms. Suprabha Marathe, who is the Deputy Municipal Commissioner, Environment, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, to talk about the challenges for women in the industry. 50 years ago, what were the challenges for a woman to get into civil engineering? How has that changed over a period of time? And what do we see now? So it was a robust conversation and discussion with all of us and also from the audience. Then we started the Women in D Foundations group in India. So we started a WhatsApp group, which comprises of about 30 to 35 women engineers all around India. Also, we have engineers from UK, USA. And professional development grants. We have two members of the Women in D Foundations Group India who have won the grant. Industry, academia, research, and partnership, we also have professors who are helping us. Again, the same thing, the lanyards that we have in USA, we also have it in India to support other women in the industry and also encourage women to start their journey in civil engineering. Women in D Foundation's India program also has started with the monthly meetings. Every second Wednesday of every month. So the upcoming April meeting is on April 14th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Indian Time. So if you're interested in attending the meeting to see what do we do, what do we discuss, what kind of initiatives are we working on, please email activities@dfi-india.org, and then we will send you the link to attend the meeting. Now, every year around this time, DFI USA comes up with the professional development grants through Women in D Foundations Committee. So April 1st, they have started accepting the applications. As I said, one of the moderators today, Sayantani Ghosh, is actually one of the grant winners a few years ago. And Akila Mane was one of the grant winners last year, who is the active member of India Women in the Foundations Group. Submission requirements are very easy. Just an application form that you can download from dfitrust.org. Just an essay, write about why you joined geotechnical engineering, why are you, how exciting it is for you, what kind of courses do you like, who is your influencer, and send your resume and letter of recommendation. This is all through PDF format, email. The email also can be found on dfitrust.org. And deadline is May 17th. Don't miss out on the opportunity. Winners will be announced before July 1st, 2021, and you will get the grant, which you can use to come to the annual conference in USA and meet everyone. So now let's jump into our webinar. Our moderators today are Dola Roy Chowdhury. She is the founder, director of GQ Consulting Engineers in Pune, and Sayantani Ghosh, project engineer, Langan Engineering, London. So let's come to know about them a little bit more. Dola, as I said, is the founder, director of GQ Consulting Engineers. She brings in over 25 years of professional experience in geosynthetic applications across various geographies in India and domain expertise in MSE retaining structures, ground improvement, and foundation engineering. Coastal protection works and sustainable green construction techniques. She has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, MBA in marketing, and a PGD in international business from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi. She's a life member of IGS, IRC, and International Geosynthetic Associant, and has been actively working with various code committees at IRC and BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. She was accorded a Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of contribution for the development and promotion of geosynthetics in infrastructure projects by the Indian chapter of the International Geosynthetic Society and CBIP in 2015. Also received an appreciation award in 2019 in recognition of her contribution to the activities of IGS India. And she's also a core member of Women in Deep Foundations Committee of India. So a fun fact about Dola, one of the main reasons I took up ground engineering work was to satiate my wanderlust. The only 4 states where I haven't worked yet are Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and Andaman Nicobar. That's fantastic and very fascinating. Welcome, Dola. Welcome. We are very happy to have you. So now let's find out more about Sayantani Ghosh. Sayantani and I go a long way. For the last few years, we have known each other and we have worked together with each other in USA and India. She's a project engineer in Langan's London office. She has worked on high-profile projects for private developers, universities, and public agencies throughout the New York metropolitan area and supported international projects in London and KSA region. Her responsibilities include performing subsurface investigations, provide excavation support design and construction inspections, performing shallow and deep foundation analysis, developing technical reports, monitoring plans, and producing construction documents. She's highly active in Women in Deep Foundations Institute, member of DFI Anchored Earth Retention Committee and CREW UK. She has brought students, professors, and young industry professionals together through networking, career development, and technical events. I think a few minutes ago, I did mention that we do have regional chapters, and she's also one of the influencers of starting Metro New York City group a few years ago. Welcome, Tani. I'm so happy to introduce you as well.
Thank you so much, Lucky.
The floor is yours.
You're on mute, Dola ma'am.
It's been a wonderful and interesting journey till now, and I'm extremely honored to introduce our first panelist for the day today, Dr. Sunil Basserker. Dr. Basarkar is the current head of Geotechnical Engineering Department at Afcons Infrastructure, Mumbai. And we have just seen his small video right in the beginning. And we have already been reading a lot about the world's tallest railway arc bridge under construction over the river Chenab in J&K, where he was highly involved at multiple stages of its development, apart from a range of other projects. Out of his 17-year-long industry experience, apart from Afcons, he has also had a near decade-long stint at ITD Cementation. He has earlier headed functions like design and technical services, quality engineering, and has been involved in multiple projects involving temporary structures, foundations, substructures of infrastructure projects, ground improvement schemes, slope stability measures, and also repairs, rehabilitations, and retrofitting for a lot of structures in distress. So what we can see is amazingly diversified career profile. He is also the nominated member from IGS for the International Committee for Land Reclamation. He is a highly involved member of DFI and also chairs DFI India's CFA Pile Technology Implementation Committee. He is a fellow of Institution of Engineers, IGS, and Institute of Bridge Engineers, amongst other affiliations. Dr. Basarkar holds a specialization in geotechnical with his doctoral research in rock-socketed piles. And apart from these illustrated years of actual field work, he has also spent over 16 years in academia with over 50 publications in various national and international conferences and reputed journals. Welcome, Dr. Basarkar. We are highly honored to have you out here for today's conversation.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the kind words.
Thank you, Dr. Basarkar, for being our panelist. I would like to thank each of the attendees, firstly, for joining the webinar today. Your participation motivates us to keep the initiative going. Without taking anyone else's much of time, I take extreme privilege to introduce Mr. Sridhar Valuri. Sridhar, are you here? Mr. Sridhar Valuri obtained his civil engineering degree from JNTU Kakinada and completed post-graduation in geotechnical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai in 2006. He worked as project assistant under Atomic Energy Regulatory Board during his MTech. Mr. Sridhar started his career in 2006 as a geotechnical engineer with the Keller team, world's largest geotechnical specialist contractor. Presently, he is heading the business development team and is responsible for the business for northern and western part of India. He is instrumental in expanding the business in India during the last 15 years. Mr. Sridhar has hands-on experience in design and build projects with key expertise in ground improvement works. He handled more than 150 design and build projects and is known in the industry as an expert for providing optimal foundation solution. His areas of expertise are ground improvement, liquefaction assessment and mitigation, grouting techniques, compaction, jet and permeation grouting, foundation for storage tanks, and optimal foundation solutions. Thank you so much, Mr. Sridhar, for agreeing to be the panelist for our webinar. It's our honor and privilege to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you for the nice introduction. Thank you.
Welcome, Sridhar. Welcome, Dr. Basarkar. What we see from both today's panelists' profile is both of you somewhere down the line are went into deep into geotechnical engineering. So to start off, let us start with that for both of you. Why don't you tell us today, among so many things that you might have studied at the undergrad level, why did you choose geotechnical engineering as a field to specialize? So, that would be the first thing probably to start off the discussion. And we would also, apart from that, like to know what are your most, what is it that really keeps you going on day-to-day basis? What are your passions? Why geotechnical and why not something else? And how you enjoy yourself doing the same thing every day?
I'll take a steal at your question. Thank you very much. During the school days, geography was my favorite subject. So the nearest thing that could lead me to geography was the geotechnical. So it had a mix of geology, the practice of earth, the foundation. So the way of life for me was geotechnical only. After graduation, I took 2 years of service, then followed by this passionate engineering, that is geotechnical. And trust me, my dreams, my ambitions never actually faltered, and it has always made me a very proud and passionate geotechnical engineer. Yeah, Sridhar, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I always used to wonder. I used to travel with my father for his actually project, which is, I think all of you might be seeing in newspaper, recent CRPF attack or something. So there is actually this place which is called Sileru. So there used to be a hydroelectricity project which used to be constructed by thousands of people in jungle. I used to go along with my father for this development project for turbine 1 and turbine 4. So there used to be deep tunnels, and there used to be such tanks which are actually way up in almost more than 1,000 meter in elevations. So I used to travel along with him. I used to ask him actually how this tunnel is stable. So why the rocks are actually intact there, and then why they are not coming down. So I asked to ask my father. So he introduced me to one of the finest civil engineer, who was also part of this multi-irrigation dam project, which is in initial stages. So that's how actually I started my passion for civil engineering. Slowly it went and I started loving the subject of soil. So because wherever I used to go, actually they used to say, "Arey, there is this problem I face, there is this problem I face." Once I heard actually a lecture by Dr. Zonderman, who is actually one of the pioneer in Keller ground engineering. He said the best of the things what we do are not visible. So all the foundations, wherever across the world Keller does, it's not actually, majority of them are not visible. So, but they are the best works that we do. So that's how actually that has started actually and created so much of interest and passion for me.
So I think that's where probably our today's theme comes in, foundations for the future. So both of you have been laying the foundation for future. You were continuing, Sridhar.
In fact, actually, both myself and Dr. Basarkar, both of us actually, I think both of us are involved in each of the stage of the construction activity. And I think civil engineers are actually are the guys who really build the future.
In fact, you'll be surprised that we started just like any ordinary mortals, because there were people who actually inspired us. Professor Nayak, N.V. Nayak, when I heard his talks way back about 30 years back, I was amazed the way kind of technicalities they were discussing, C5, undrained and all. I was just taken aback. I was not at all understanding those things. In fact, that must have been some of the starting point which has led to this specialization.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers will identify with that, at especially amongst our viewers who are from undergrad levels and all. A lot of those terminologies really don't make sense until they really get into it, because they are just some random alphabets. And again, soil engineering, there is so much of empirical in that. There are, like, practically everything is empirical out there. So but yeah, it's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating story. Tani, you'd want to take this further?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, it's really great what you both were saying, Sridhar and Dr. Basarkar. I think the mystery of unknown is what charms a geotechnical engineer a lot. Like everywhere, there's as much as we know, there's always a probability of uncertainty, and that's where I think it makes geotechnical engineers, I would say, the most practical ones, because you have to think off the ground, you have to make practical solutions. So thank you so much for, again, reestablishing that fact. I would take a small interruption. We would like to know a little bit about our attendees today. We would like to conduct a poll to know about their background. So for all our attendees, can you please fill in the information? It's a quick poll. We just want to know what stage of professional career you are in presently. This is going to actually help us in creating more events as of your interest level.
So while they are at it, I think this quick poll is also going to give us a fair idea about, how, what kind of discussion we are going to take further ahead. And while this is happening, one thing we would continue to talk about is, we talked about how we started off, but at the same time, I'm sure there are queries as to every day, Sridhar, you go ahead and continue to do similar kind of jobs sometimes. So does that require a special kind of motivation, or is it like you thrive on variety like Dr. Basarkar?
In fact, actually, for me, there is like the nature of projects, what we do is very unique. So we address from foundation sizes, foundation durations for one week projects to almost 1 year projects. So maybe in a day, actually, we'll be handling around a project sizes of maybe one building to project size of a factory or a big size project, which is of like irrigation dam or something. So it's the visualization that really matters. So that means whatever that is being constructed, if I visualize that this is the structure that is going to stand on the foundations, what I'm doing, so then automatically the passion, I don't feel it as a repeated job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we have the poll results. We have 52% of experienced working professional and 30% of young working professional.
Yeah. So I think we are sort of divided today. Almost like half of our audience today are young professionals or about to be professionals. So, and I'm sure the rest of them are out here to understand the industry a little more, and then somewhere down the line pass on that wisdom to others. So that gives us a very good insight. Thank you so much for taking the poll, and let us continue with the further discussion. So Tani, you'd go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Tola ma'am. So this is a question I wanted to ask both of you, Dr. Basarkar and Sridhar. What are the skills that you're noticing is missing presently in young graduates or young professionals that you think is absolutely essential in the industry, and according to your experience of all these years?
I'll take up the initiative. In fact, we have a structure of a 4-year graduation. And in many of the institutes, it's not compulsory to have some internship, field exposure, even if it is for a matter of 1 month, 1.5 months. So not all engineers are exposed to the field conditions beforehand. So this is a very sad part. You'll find in all the professions, medical profession, you take a commerce profession, management profession, there is always a minimum exposure required before you're actually stepping into the field. In a medical, you have to go to the rural areas, you have to go to the hospitals, practice. That itself is a compulsory internship. In a chartered, the accountancy, it is very compulsory that you work under a CA. That means you are nurtured. Over here, we don't have any such thing before a first job is handed over to you. So this is a very sad part. There has to be some way out where a graduate, after he completes, should have under his or her belt at least 2 months, I say, of internship, a raw internship, which is working in the field. The actual table part and all that can come later. But yes, 2 months of minimum, the field experience should come up. This is something which is lacking from our side.
We understand, yeah.
Absolutely, so, I agree.
Echo with what Dr. Basarkar is saying. One of the things my professor used to say me is unless you get your shoes dirty, you really cannot enjoy the soil mechanics. So you need to know how soft is the soil. You need to know actually how the soil is behaving. You cannot really, or even if you just visit any simple site without even sitting in a container, it doesn't really help unless you have a feel of it. At least touch it and then see what is being studied. Somebody says N value of 5, somebody says N value 10. Unless you put your finger impression on that, so you really cannot understand the design aspects of it. So what he says is, I think you might be knowing, is Dr. Katti. Is well known in the and he's no more in the but he's a pioneer in geotechnical engineering, and he used to always tell to us, go make your shoes dirty, make your don't sit in the laboratory and then understand this. So I realized actually when he was saying this, initially I was feeling actually a little bit bad, but then later once I started actually doing real design, so then I started wondering actually what is SPT1, what we are talking, or what is the CPT values of 0.25, 0.1. So all these values I started realizing then. So it is, I strongly echo with what Dr. Basarkar is saying. We should have the civil engineers or the geotechnical engineers should have a hands-on experience before really they come into the professional career.
No,
This is
So
very much
combining both your points, I think the two takeaways will be ruin your shoes and get some sun on your face.
Absolutely, absolutely.
get some vitamin D.
That's how you are going to have the experience. A person who can read the pulse, he can study, he can understand what is ailing you, what is wrong with the patient. Similarly, if you are going to make your hands dirty, if you are going to feel each and every soil and rock with the hand, with the feel of the hand, I have seen plenty of people with the feel of hand, they can say C is this much, phi is 23 degrees. No, they will argue it's not 25, it's 23 degrees. For 2 degrees, they are going to argue, but just by having a feel with the hand. So that's kind of expertise you can have, provided you have really made your hand dirty.
No, absolutely. And that's why I think this is one industry we can advance in technology, but it cannot beat experience. This is going to always stay, I think, in the geotechnical engineering. On that note, sorry, Sridhar, go ahead. Yeah.
I was recently I came across one more example. Somebody was actually designing. I mean, I was also I'm not an expert, but then when I started actually looking into the loading intensity of one of the project, where the person was actually constructing a simple G+1 building, and then they were saying actually the loading is actually we want 20 ton per meter square. So it's a simple raft, and then they were asking. So then one of my senior asked, "Do you really mean this?" So then he started actually asking them, "Can you really estimate how much is a load?" The person who is actually with whom we are interacting is a very known consultant. So then, but he has no field experience. He doesn't really visualize how much is actually 1000 kgs, 1 ton means. So then the moment he imagines actually what is 20 ton per meter square of loading that is coming on a raft, so then automatically the things will change. So then the design will be automatically different. So this is where I think we really need to enhance or develop our skill.
So on that note, I just want to ask another question that are the companies, like you both are in one of the pioneer companies in India, are they thinking about paid internship programs targeting college students, bringing them early in to the industry and training them? Are these programs being launched, and what are the companies thinking on this line to provide this kind of experience to the students?
We do have a system at Afcons of internship. We don't have a fixed number of interns or some kind of numbers per annum, but it all depends on the annual position and how busy the sites and people are. But yes, the internship programs are there. There are few interns we absorb at the head office, and many bulk of the interns, they have site visits. So since our sites are scattered all over India and even to some extent at the Gulf area, the Africa, so it's a very good opportunity to absorb as intern the local aspiring engineering candidates. And joining the site and learning from the site is much easier and convenient to us. So yes, that kind of internship programs are there. And over in head office, we have some good intent also in mind. Because if you are an intern, you know the caliber of the student, you know how fast is he in 2 months or 1 month has already absorbed the nuances of the working of the organization. So when this candidate appears after graduation for a prospective job, we already know what caliber that person has. So that means half of your job is already done in understanding the attitude of the person. So that works fine. So interns, in a way, they are nothing but an investment into our future human resource required.
Absolutely.
So on the same note, maybe I think as Afcons, like Keller is actually, as you all know, it's world's largest geotechnical company. So they are actually, we are present almost in 42 countries across the world. So every country has their own internship programs. But maybe I'll be specific to Indian context. So like every year we have not a fixed number of interns, but then we do take interns. And then in fact actually the interns, if they are good and they are liking it, and they will be continuing in Keller. So it's like we have some people working from NICMER, some people actually coming from various institutes in IITs. So we have some people coming in from civil engineering institutes, even because civil that too at contractor level and subcontractor level, there are various openings that comes in. So it's not only the civil engineering part, it's actually the design, geotechnical part. It's actually the business development where I am coming in, or there is marketing, or there is actually several executional aspects of the civil engineering. So that comes in. So that is where actually so much of internships are available. Maybe year to year it depends. Actually, not a fixed number of openings, but then yes, they are there.
This is great.
Sridhar, I'll just, ask a leading question from what you were talking just now, that, you talked about that there are so many functions within the organization, even within geotechnical. You're talking about designs, execution, BD. That's what you talked about. Now, what would be your clear-cut advice to the young engineers today to prepare themselves to explore careers in such kind of area? Like geotechnical again is a very, very vast field. It's a very broad based kind of a word. So within that, or even within civil engineering, not even going into geotechnical per se, but civil engineering in general, because that would be the first choice after undergrad, that if they are going in for a PG, what to choose. There's also a lot of choice that is dumped onto them at that stage, that should they continue into purely technical, should they get into management, or is there somewhere in between path. So with those kind of decisions right on their plate, even before they have graduated, because entrance exams and so many things are in line. So what would be your advice to young engineers to prepare themselves for making the right kind of choice?
In fact, I had the same question almost 18-20 years back when I was actually about to join in any organization. But now if you ask me, there are, let's say, 30 subjects which we studied. Each of the subject has actually a different and very detailed scope, whether it is estimation, whether it is contracting, or whether it is managerial economics and principles of accountancy in civil engineering, or whether it is structural engineering, or whether it is hydraulic engineering. You name the subject what we studied.
It's so broad based. It is so broad based.
Correct. So it depends. Like, but when I started actually initially I was when I joined actually in Keller, I started my career in as a geotechnical engineer in for a very this is the first time that is this technique is introduced in India, which is permeation grouting. So, but when I went to site, actually, it's like working in the role that is given to me was quality for initial few days, because then I realized the subject is so vast. Quality as for a civil engineer is so big. So you want to excel your career there also. Or later I realized actually there is certain thing called actually quality control and quality assurance. And later I realized there is one more thing which is closely associated with civil engineering, is safety. Health, safety, and quality. So all of this is also a vast subject. So there are several things, but we should initially, when we start our career, we should keep our eyes or our ears, everything open. So we have to taste all the things, be patient and taste all the things as complete project life cycle, and then actually slowly we will automatically understand which subject we are actually familiar with, or in internal our heart says actually which area we are familiar with. and we should slowly develop the expertise at least in 2-3 fields, and later in once we progress in our careers, so then we have to narrow down to that subjects.
So
I agree with Sridhar.
We should not have a
Keep
fixed
your mind
mindset.
Keep your mind open. So I agree, full marks to Sridhar for that. In fact, one thing is the expectations of the industry client has increased manifold. What we used to have, if you remember, a 600 dia pile about 15 years back, we have now become a 1800 dia pile. The loads on the same pile, they have increased. So that means the student have to come up with the challenges and it has to be really fast. One thing I'll always advise the newcomers in the industry that be prepared with the latest softwares, because they are, apart from your fundamentals, the softwares are going to take you ahead, and it will enable you to have a faster delivery. So your proficiency in the softwares is definitely going to matter, whether it is in the field or whether it is in the office kind of work. You need a software. They are indispensable nowadays. Anyone who is actually lagging behind in the software there will be a time will be lagging behind the profession. This has to be brought in mind.
No, thank you so much. Absolutely. Both of your points are great. I want to tell our audience that please send us all your questions. We would like to get more and more of what kind of questions that you want to get answers from our experts today from the panel. So let us know what you would like to hear. Leading on to the question that Tola ma'am asked, I would want to ask another question on that lines. So I'm somebody with 7 years experience in the industry now. So there are many people like me who start their career and I'm in consulting. Now there could be somebody who is in the contractor, somebody who is doing business development. So what's the advice do you have for people, for middle, I'm not even saying middle, like few years experienced people, if they want to switch, they want to see what are the other aspects, or should they go and explore and know more? Because maybe I'm comfortable in what I'm doing. I haven't even seen another side of the business. But what is the advice that you have? What kind of skill set do you think that stays when you want to switch, and how should they develop, or what kind of, or if they want to go to from contractor to consulting to contractor, or from business development, what's the advice you have for such people who are in the career experience level of 5 to 10 years?
If you have to shift, just follow your passion, follow your conscience. Don't worry about what will happen, because every shift comes up with a bag of experience, and each and every experience has a value of gold. Personally speaking, I would like to share my own experience. In a field, I had worked with the consultant, I have worked with the contractors, I have worked also with the clients. In academia, I had worked with the private college, I am associated with the government college, I am associated with the NITs, I am associated with IITs, except probably Polytechnic, each and every facet of education system I had been exposed to. That means, yes, if you are a given opportunity to have a variety of your job, variety in profession, why not? Even the spectrum has 7 colors. Why not a profession, your job, have at least 7 exposures of job? Why not?
Thank you,
Thinking
Dr.
on the
Basarkar.
same thing. I mean, when really somebody starts a career, so he should not be really worrying actually, am I at what role I am playing in the organization. It's what is that I'm learning. So that is the most important thing. So I mean, I always used to wonder actually, like for any geotechnical, for example, for a geotechnical engineer, the career will be beautiful if he starts actually first understanding what with soil investigation. So then actually he goes for the design. So then he goes actually for a marketing. So then he goes actually for the management. So you see actually the entire thing, entire circle, he'll be having that flavor. But then imagine on the same note, actually there is one geotechnical engineer who really does the soil investigation, does the foundations by himself, and executes the entire project, actually monitors the project also, and then finishes the project and hands it over to a client. So, and then monitors the project for a while. So imagine actually this also is an aspect which is to be like thought about. So this will give actually a broader picture for anybody who has started his career. So he need not actually limit himself actually, or he should not, first of all, he or she should not actually think that they are in a smaller role. So then and they have wide scope to learn in each of the area. So then automatically once they are getting familiar with the things, and then there is certain thing called gut feel. So the moment actually they get that gut feel, so then automatically they will get switched. So and one thing I picked up when Tani was saying, so don't be comfortable in certain, once you get comfortable, you will not actually learn. So I suggest actually the moment you're getting comfortable, please make yourself uncomfortable. So
Thank you so much for that.
The right time to share.
Within the organization, you have several roles to take up. It's not that actually you need to change the organization, but then within the organization you can change several roles. Within yourself, you can start actually something new which you can study.
No, this
Actually,
is great
that's
motivation
what I
for
was
me.
going to ask, as a continuing question, that if we are talking about exploring and broad basing our careers, then are we talking about switching jobs, or are we talking about, various roles within the same organization? So what is it that, because again, there are limitations to both. Because we would also like to know, as a part of the same continuing question, is what kind of opportunities does organizations provide to individuals to switch within the organization? Because not every organization may be willing to allow you to switch functions. So how does your organization deal with this kind of a scenario?
Maybe I will take the lead here once. See, generally is like, a crosshair. If you look at a crosshair, so there is actually a vertical growth in the organization. There is actually lateral growth in the organization. So it is like, let's say there is a geotechnical engineer who has joined actually initially as a site engineer. So now there is actually a person who is heading the complete big, let's say there is Afcons. Entire geotechnical team has been actually, it's been controlled by Dr. Basarkar, or he's leading the entire geotechnical division. Or we have there is technical expertise, and where actually in that technical expertise you lead the company's complete technical vertical. Or there is certain thing called general management. So where you keep on, once you get the expertise in that certain thing, and then you'll keep on growing into the other aspects of it. So that is actually management. So both of them are equally important, and as you know, it cannot actually work one, and it has to be complementing each other. So always it is to have both. And it is us who have to decide actually whether which way we want to go. If I am really good in engineering and I want to really do engineering and it is my passion, and then I don't want to really get into what how does actually a project gets executed, it's not really worth and wasting time there after spending so many years in doing design and engineering.
No, this is
But it's
great.
always
I think both perspectives are very important, that if you want, you need to understand what you want to do. And if you want to try out new things, it's great for people like me to know that the industry is welcoming, that if people want to try out on other zones. On that note, we have a question from the audience. Minu has actually questioned, so maybe I'll address this, Dr. Basarkar, from your experience, and that she has taken a break from her career for 4 years from a reputed MNC, and then she actually gone back to do post-graduation in geotechnical engineer. So what she's asking is, would the industry be welcoming such people who took a break in between their career and went for a higher education? And I'll just add on to her question that, are the companies also thinking about sponsoring people to go back to do their master's or PhD within, like staying in the company, going, studying, and coming back? So that will be a great to get input from both of you on that.
There are two parts of question I have understood, that the incumbent had a brief field exposure before he decided for going for higher education. This is the first part, which is always a welcome thing, a bit of exposure of the real world, and then going in for the education post-graduation. is the best thing to do. Okay, because you have a firm grip on the understanding the theory and application in the postgraduate stage. You have a good discretion to decide which options, which electives to take up. In fact, many of the institutes, they make it compulsory for the postgraduates to have some, experience. And even for the MBAs also, there is a minimum requirement of about 4 to 5 years of field experience before you are actually absorbed as for the MBA course. So this is one of the advantage of going in for the post-graduation with the experience in the belt. So it gives you a better grasp of the theory. And about the encouragement or what kind of schemes we have as an organization to support the education. Inbuilt, we don't have it as such. But yes, the executive MBA programs and for the person who is desirous of doing postgraduates or even the research, PhD, they are always encouraged in a corporate organization like Afcons to carry on with their passion. At the same time, devote time to the work also. If it is a short-term course, let us say about 6 months, then he or she may be definitely permitted, and he can come back armed with a knowledge that can actually increase the turnover of the company. Yes, we do have. And in fact, in our organization, there are research scholars also who had tie-up with institutes. Like I'll go for IIT Dhanbad is one of them, where close to about 4 to 5 of our employees, they are pursuing their PhD. And if it is possible to merge to do the work with the research, yes, we do encourage such kind of higher education to broaden your specialization area. We have even one of the employees who had done PhD. In fact, it is her. She has done PhD while serving in Afcons in our design department, and then she has also pursued for executive MBA program. And trust me, she is mother of 2, and she is one of the fantastic designers Afcons is having.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Basarkar. That's
way of life.
Sridhar, would you like to add on to this?
Yeah, same. I think at all the organizations, it's one thing that is very clear. If the employer, if the employee means actually whoever wants to really, if he wants to learn something and he wants to do something, so then definitely it will be a benefit for both the people. So because if he grows, automatically the company also grows. This is a fundamental basic. So the moment actually that means he is doing something value addition to the company. So the moment actually there is a new learning, so then automatically the company will allow for his, if the mindset is like that, so then automatically companies will allow for his or her education. But one thing to be noticed is this can be since on a practical note, it has to be like at least the person has to show that loyalty, the trust, and gain that command. So that, yes, I am actually going to deliver, I am actually going to give value addition to the company as well as myself. So then if I want to do, there are several instances or several examples where people actually in Keller, actually they have done their PhDs. Majority of us are actually geotechnical engineers, and then there are doctorates who have done actually in, currently also there are some of the geotechnical engineers pursuing their PhD in IIT Delhi. So, and then there are actually some in, I think it is well known, like Cecilia Bond, actually, who is our main designer in developing actually our programs. So she has done with Keller's assistance, and Dr. Jimmy Ware actually also did this. So there are several people actually in our company who did their postgraduate as well as PhD programs and also MBAs. So it is all, it all depends on actually how much you are promising, and it is you who have to talk for yourself, and you have to portray yourself actually how it is beneficial for the company as well as yourself. Then automatically things will be in place.
So, I have another question out here, which is, just more or less similar in the same line from Mr. Muthu Gunasekaran from L&T. What he's talking about is, we talked about design as a function a little while ago. So what he has to ask is, as an organization, do you have bachelor degree holders in design functions? Because as per him, what he says is, I have come across several organizations, and in most places, no bachelor degree holder is engaged in designs. So what suggestions can you give if he or she has knowledge and ready to go in for training to get into designs? So either of you can respond to Muthu.
For me, I'll just pick up, because just having a graduation degree is not an impediment. In fact, a graduation degree covers a good deal of steel structures. It covers the RCC. It covers the basics of the geotechnical engineering. In fact, he or she can be definitely a designer, and he can even get started with some of the structural designers being a geotechnical designers. There's no impediment. Even a graduate can become a successful designer in his own stream. The real learning starts after graduation, which means you don't have to get a degree to learn it. Your degree is not a certification for your specialization. In fact, your work in that area is a specialization. I know a couple of the accomplished designers. Many of them two geotechnical designers I know, but they are a graduate by profession, by education. But yes, they have excelled in the field practice. By chance, they had been led to a very good organization that gave them exposure in the field of geotechnical. And he got so profusely busy with his career in the field that he could not muster time to specialize in that stream. See, so that is a fate that led him to a practicing geotechnical engineer rather than a person with a degree, with a postgraduate degree. So it is the field direction you choose that will define.
I totally understand that. Yeah.
In fact, it is a practicing field. The engineering is a practicing field.
In
Totally,
fact,
totally endorse that.
I was about to say, Dr. Basarkar, geotechnical engineering is art of practice. You have to practice it.
Yes.
So you have to feel it. So I think to address actually Muthu in other way around. So the moment actually when somebody finishes bachelor's, he has actually vast knowledge of all the subjects, and he or she actually will not be really be particular on one. He is not actually in this way. He's open. So the ideas or the in fact actually the knowledge that they have will be more, and learning ability will be higher when they start practicing it. But yes, I do understand actually there will be a learning curve which will be little bit longer for them, initial learning curve, to understand the complexity of the structure or understand the complexity of the design. So it may take time, but then if they are willing, and if they are actually understanding and the basics are correct, so that means actually they should be able to, if it is soil mechanics, the basics has to be correct. So whether it is liquid limit, correct. So whether it is liquid limit when we are studying at MTech level or BTech level, it remains the same. So it is our understanding that gets actually polished. So that is where actually if they develop this, then automatically it will be easy for them.
And from your liquid limit, I have another very interesting question, purely technical, from Abhishek Agrawal. He's asking, what are some of the important aspects of soil reports that people should focus on, or which are the ones that tend to be overlooked? So we are deviating into a little more technical, but I think that's the downside of having four civil engineers on one platform.
I used to always listen actually Professor V.S. Raju. He's renowned actually renowned geotechnical practitioner. He always, this is a vast subject, soil investigation, especially in Indian context, because we have we have wide varieties of investigation tools we have. So somebody uses actually the latest seismic cone. Somebody uses actually still the primitive, actually with a simple rod. Actually, they just push it into the ground with some hammer, not even calibrated hammer. But then you have wide variety of this, but then there are some aspects which are to be like always what he used to say and what we believe. There has to be two components of this soil report. One is factual report, other one is interpretive report. So factual report also has to deal with all the contexts, including the visualization of the structure. For what
That's
structure?
very important. Yes, that's very important takeaway.
Right.
Go ahead, Sridhar.
So then, and in interpretation, so it is actually the local conditions also to be taken into account. Somebody is writing a report in on soil investigation in Bangladesh, and then they suggest actually the material which is not available there actually to do foundation. So let's say stone is not available, and then they say actually you need to make a rubble platform. So then that all the thing has to be imported from somewhere else, from Dubai or India. So it is the core practice also has to have the essence of the local knowledge. So I think
to have local expertise. Yeah. Local
right.
geology, know more about it. Absolutely.
Correct. So it has to have that touch and flavor. So these aspects on a broader sense, it has to cover. Maybe I think Dr. Basarkar, I'll request you to add in few sentences here. I know
partisan knowledge is the best knowledge that should be implemented. We have done plenty of pilings where we could not, due to some reason, mobilize our chisel trailer to the site. But then we found a fantastic local practice at Bangladesh. And in fact, that was a saving grace for us, because something that was locked in due to some transport problem. But here we got a local solution. We proceeded with the local kind of chisel, and it was not having even the tripod. It was like some kind of a frame, vertical frame, with just two props, bamboo props, and that become the rig for driving these local hammers. And yet we could complete the piling project in that area. So it is the local knowledge, the local material. You'll come across very fantastic solutions. Some of the excavation support systems practiced in West Bengal, practiced in Bangladesh. Okay, they are a gem of a thought. They are the local technology. Why don't we go for that kind of technology? A jute that is used for many of the stabilizing works in West Bengal and around. These are all the local products. It can be derived from any of the practices, but yes, the local is always going to be preferred. Even the expats, when they come to us, they talk to us, they ask first, what is the local practice? They will get that information first.
That's the concept of sustainability.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
On that note, this is great that we are going in this. We have a question from Suresh from our audience. So what he's asking is that, Keller and Afcons are international organizations. So you're already interacting with your peers in the other countries, and your exchange of ideas is happening. But are you noticing on the base level among the smaller contractors or in the ground level in India, are technological developments like globally, just for example, what Dr. Basarkar was saying, are you seeing that being adopted to the ground level overall in the country among all levels of companies? And I'll also add to that question that Suresh has, it's out of my curiosity, that are you expecting, because actually three of you are pioneers in the industry, that are you expecting more changes in the building code of India, which is going to reinforce the requirement of geotechnical engineers in the projects at every strata of like every kind of project? So I know these are two long questions, two different questions, but I'll just throw out, and this is a great opportunity to hear from both of you on these aspects.
I'll be very short in replying. The contractors, they are available of all levels. Few of them, they are the labor contractors, few are the specialized contractors. But when they come under the banner of a good company, they are going to be good contractors. This is a very, very essential relationship. Because being part of a good company, a standard and accredited company, it means the subcontractor also becomes a responsibility of the main contractor. So he is going to perform, he's going to raise his standard to the level of expectation of the contract. So it doesn't matter which level the subcontractor belongs to. He'll be definitely nurtured, he'll be definitely brought to the the standards of the project. Now, which direction India is heading? I believe I heard it right. Codes you're talking, is it?
Yeah.
The codal practice.
Codal practice.
So codes, codes definitely they are part of. Once they were part of the British code, or once they were part of the American code, but definitely Indian codes do have a sufficiency in their own way. Few of them, because they are mostly technology related, few of the technology related codes have not come up into the industry. But yes, we are definitely coming up with the standards and requirements of construction industry. We are known to be very conservative in our approach. We are very cautious in our approach. And that is the reason why we may be delaying, but we are not actually sort of meeting the target. Yes, codes for every construction industry is coming up. And yes, there is a sufficient confidence in the contents of the code.
Okay.
And I would just add for the audience out here that Dr. Basarkar is the chair for the CFA Piles for India. And he's already working, Dr. Basarkar and his whole committee is working so much in detail in bringing the technology into India as a mainframe part. So yes, what Tatani was asking just now, as a part of the question out here is bringing in technology to the grassroots levels for Indian construction. So yes, I would reiterate, and I'm sure both the panelists will agree that technologically, India, we are doing well. Sridhar, what do you have to say about that?
I think when we like 16 years, 17 years back, or 20 years back, when we studied geotechnical engineering, we never studied about ground improvement, to be frank.
We still
so
don't
now
study in school, in undergrad school.
now we are studying, and at that time, even if actually maybe some people, some professors used to know about stone columns, but then there are more than 50-60 products that Keller does across the world. And we have actually what is called actually global product team. That means there are several guys who are and people, actually he or she, they are actually trained and having expertise of more than 50-60 years of knowledge in these fields already. Then I think all of you might be knowing, like, Keller is almost 160 years old company, and we are celebrating, I think we celebrated 160 years this last year. So this whole of the company, they are having expertise of individual products. But then when we come to India, we don't have so many products. But then, as you see, I started my career with permeation grouting, which is the first time it is introduced in India. And then actually later we did actually in Delhi, which is retrievable U-turn anchors, so which we were not even knowing in our designs. Later actually we did compaction grouting. So later actually recently we did actually as a cutoff actually jet grouting. So these are all actually, like Dr. Basarkar is talking about CFA piles. Now imagine actually all these things are actually at this level in India, but only one thing what we realized, and I think what Thani was also saying, what we are doing as a renowned as a known geotechnical practitioner, what we are doing. So with help of IGC, with the help of DFI, with help of WIDF, so what we are doing is actually we are now putting in the facts, we are putting in the technology in front of all in various forums, whether it is virtual seminars, webinars, or presentations. I remember actually our technical manager Madan has given more than, I think, 20 last year. In this lockdown itself, he has given actually more than 20 lectures. And I think IGS, DFI, in collaboration actually with these members, we have given more than 100 lectures in the last 4 years at various institutes. So it is like not Keller, it's actually not Afcons, it's all geotechnical community. As a community, we started actually because we know that there is a gap with the academic, what is being taught in academics and what is being actually practiced. So there is a gap. That gap we are bridging it by these seminars.
No,
True.
and I think it's, as you said, like field practice. Like I can recollect, I know we're running out of time, but I came fresh out of my grad school. My first job as a Langen engineer was with Trench, which is now bought by Keller. So they are one of the finest grouting companies that I have ever worked with. And this was compaction grouting. I was out of school, and 9 months and I got so much. And I was doing compaction grouting and jet grouting inspections, but I could be on site with the best, like, drillers on site, and they know so much about the technology, and I was learning so much. Like, yes, this is, and absolutely. And I think these seminars and all by these construction firms, whether it's Keller, Afcons, Nichols, and all our companies are really enforcing that. So thank you so much for that. Dola ma'am, would you like to take the next?
There is another question from the audience again. What he's talking about, this is from Stephanie. The question out here is, it is more of a comment. An employee must consider oneself a partner of the company and not a I would not use the word servant. I would say as a not consider as a worker, especially an engineer or a geotechnical geologist. What Steny has to say is, I believe a young student or engineer must understand that what I was taught many years ago, our university education gives us the foundation to our future, what Sridhar just now mentioned, and our future work will give us the opportunity to choose and specialize. We engineers never stop learning the tricks of the trade if we are on the site. Yes, Stephanie, that is exactly what both our panelists have been talking about. And with relation to cross communication amongst fields, we have another question out here is, what is the scope for a geotechnical engineer in a structural consultancy firm dealing with infrastructure and heavy projects? I think this is very, very important for a lot of people, like who are, into switching or, a broad-based organization. So this is more generalized, and if the any of the panelists can throw some light on their idea about this question.
My one-line answer to your question, scope of geotechnical. Geotechnical will be used wherever there is soil. It means it's an infinite possibility. If it is a structural person, he is trying to work for geotechnical will be a support group. He is going to provide him with all the solutions for the foundations, for the behavior of all variety of the structures. In fact, your question is applicable to me only. We are nothing but employ a geotechnical engineers in a big structural firm. Sridhar, your opinion on that?
I mean, I was quite, to be frank, I was lost in the question a little bit, but I could, thanks to Dolaji and you actually, because it's quite long, the question. I could understand only the simple part of it, which I'll try to address it direct. So any geotechnical engineer, whether it is a big firm or a small firm or anywhere, foundations has to be done. There is no doubt, and there is no other way. Now it is the role whether he's a designer. So the designer also, I have seen some designers actually who are structural engineers who are doing geotechnical designs. So it doesn't really bother, but he is specialized in geotech. So the role is very important, and the role actually it becomes the foundation for that entire project. So
True.
it is whether he's small or big, it doesn't really bother.
True.
Am I a little bit relevant?
Understand. We
change
still have a barrage of questions.
But I'll change the
Yes,
gears. I mean, this is such an interesting conversation going on. I can go on for hours, but we still have. I mean, Dr. Basarkar, last month, Afcons celebrated Wonder Woman in Afcons around this time. So on that line, from like you celebrated women from back-end office to field engineers everywhere on the iconic Chenab Bridge project as well. So as per your opinion in general, how diverse do you think, to be honest, is the mainstream construction industry? And what, according to you, would make a equally inclusive atmosphere for when we will look into just engineers? We will not be able to have to think who is a man, who is a woman in the industry. Like what should we do, or what are the companies doing, or what are we doing that we just look at and we say this is a great engineer? We don't have to say anymore this is a great female engineer or a male engineer. That to bring to that level of inclusivity or equality or equity. What do you think is the present status, and what are we doing?
A person joining any firm has to be wary of their policies. Okay, so if a really candidate, if he is interested in a firm, he should look into the kind of projects being executed across the India. He should move into the website and try to look into the kind of projects, kind of policies the company is having. It is important to understand that before the person takes a first step of joining. Having it all inclusive, that means a person, if he joins, he is rendering his professional services. So whatever he has learned, he's rendering those to the company. That means the company should also make him overall, the entrepreneur and entrepreneurship and professionalism in this. So it is important that the kind of firm you join, that has also an equal bearing on the overall development of his professional career. One thing I'll say that Afcons has a knowledge, we say Afcons is a knowledge industry. It is a knowledge enterprise, which means all the information collected from the field, they are compiled. All the projects that end up, there is a lessons learned session which has to be compiled. Any new R&D that has been derived, it has to be compiled. So it is a continuous learning process. So any fresh entrant into the industry should be wary that whether he is going to be continuously learning throughout his time till the retirement. If that is so, then the answer to join is obviously yes. I hope I have tried in a way to get your answer.
I think a part of Tani's question was a little more to do with gender equality or gender inclusivity. So we are talking about, women engineers out here, as far as this question is concerned. So when we are talking about the diversity, we are talking about, inclusivity of both the genders into the field. So,
as field engineers,
partly in that the answer was there, because it will depend on firm to firm. I won't say it is a concept of each and every firm. When I told that you have to look into that firm, what is their policy and all, it also includes the how they are treating in terms of the gender equality. As I told in Afcons, there are so many women in our organization, and they are occupying the pinnacle of the positions. There are at least 4 women directors. There are at least 3 women who are heading a functional organization. There are a couple of girls, I will say, who are right up to the site at Chenab. Why? Because out of passion. And yes, we do encourage creating facilities for the women at the sites also, so that it is a lovable place to work. Whether it is site, whether it is the head office, gender to us is one and same.
Sridhar, would you say that the industry as a whole, I'm not talking about only Keller or Afcons individually, but industry as a whole, are they discussing about creating programs or an atmosphere to sustain women in critical mid-career or, upper career stages, so that, especially so that they can reach the leadership roles that Dr. Basarkar is talking about? Is the industry actively doing something?
I think lately, like Indian industry, if you look at our civil industry, they started actually really talking in every field. It's not actually it's not only in design field or anything. Every field they started looking in, and they really started enforcing it. The good part is they started enforcing it. And see, only one area it really troubles is actually going out of comfort zones. When it comes to going out of comfort zone, when it is actually in sites, whenever it is actually remote places. So this is where actually unknowingly there is actually a certain thing called a certain fear factor that comes in. So that is where actually all this MNCs it's little bit advantageous, because they understand it. They have a place in their, like, in their SWP, in their method statement itself, it is placed actually these are the activities that are to be done. So then automatically it is quite easy. But then where actually there are nothing which is specified, there it becomes slightly difficult for the women directly to join those companies. But then they feel very happy. Right now, if you ask me if whether my sister or whether my mother or anybody who want to join Keller, so they need not even, or any I don't say actually Keller or any other MNC, they don't even now think of, they can straight away apply and then join. But then they will slightly look at coming up, because we are talking, all of us are Indians, and we are talking within this community. So they will be slightly looking at okay, so but then whatever is in our head, actually whatever is in our mind, actually we have to put it out and then ask them, I want to work, it's my passion actually to be a civil engineer on site. So what is that actually you will make, what is the facilities that you are going to give me? So that is, I think, if we start demanding, then automatically everything will be in place.
So
nice
the counter question out here, Sridhar, is the company asking what women want?
Yes, I think other way around. There are I think in all the companies there is this feedback sessions. There is always this Dropbox systems wherein they just write something and then just place it. Actually, whatever is, irrespective whether it is male or female, it doesn't really matter. It's the opinion that matters. And then you give a correct opinion, and then you say. And I think I think two of the people are there also. I think last two, Akhila was there and Sangin was there, actually acting as part of this event. So both of them, Sangin has represented actually our board directly. She was representing and taking care of our board members when all of them were there actually. And then she was directly, none of the Indian employee got an opportunity, but then she was actually directly interacting with the board members. And Akhila, who was actually part of this program, she also got actually direct interaction with DFI. So this is how actually, like, there are opportunities. And Keller or any company, any MNC company or any good company really want this diversification, because to be frank, actually women employees are very loyal. Then it's I don't want to hurt any male sentiment, but then they are really there. And I don't know, like, I see my daughter, I see my wife, they can manage things actually, several of the things parallelly, which I struggle a lot. So if it is more than 3-4 projects, I struggle. But then they can easily manage. It's more than 15-16 tasks at a moment. So then that means actually they can handle. Actually, it's quite easy to manage the general office matters.
This is lucky.
For that, and I can see Dr. Basarkar waiting to come in and comment. So Lucky, I'll ask you to hold in for a minute and let Dr. Basarkar complete that.
No problem. This is a very interesting conversation, and I wanted to come in and say a few things that
Sure. Absolutely.
This is going really great. I hope we could do a 5-hour session, but then we can't do that. Go ahead, Dr. Basarkar.
One thing I would like to really point out in all seriousness, in Afcons we had one of the training programs that lasted about 3 hours on what could amount to a gender bias, what could amount to a certain, the sexist attitude, everything we had been taught with the examples. Okay, like I had been thrown with one of the cases by the advocate who was actually an expert in this field. He gave me an example that you have done this to your lady colleague. Now tell me, whether you are wrong or you are right. Okay. And it sounded as if I had done really something really good for that lady who is my colleague. Okay. This was the scenario that was put to me. And I told, yes, this is the factual and this is what had been done in a correct sense. Then I was led into the real legal part, and I had been told that if you had done this, then I'm sorry, you are in for a trouble. Then I had been explained what are the legal clauses that could lead you to the trouble. See, working and really in our ambience is a serious business, and we have to know the responsibilities of working together. So it means it requires some kind of understanding, education, even if it is a multinational, if it is a big corporate like ours. So yes, there has to be some kind of education. There's no limit that you have really, you know everything and you can stop learning in this direction. So this is something of a really serious thing.
Thank
We
you
need
so
to be
much.
acquainted with.
No, this is it's great to hear that the industry is thinking seriously and is thinking not only about the hiring entry level but also making policies and creating an atmosphere so that women can think about being super ambitious, getting anywhere where they want to, and being passionate about what they're doing and sustain in their career and grow under the leadership of all of you. Thank you so much.
Lucky, you wanted to
So
ask something.
yeah, I was just going to comment on or add my few cents to the conversation that is happening in terms of inclusivity and diversity, right? I think inclusion and diversity has gone beyond just looking at the gender equality, just looking at which country you come from. I think it has gone beyond that now, the conversations around the globe. We are now looking at inclusivity in terms of and diversity in terms of anyone who is different from us. You know, if you look at people, it does not have to be male or female or transgender or anything like that, but who are different in thinking, different in the way they do things. That is also something that we have to, fight, because there are times that we have, we actually have bias among ourselves, that
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
unconscious bias that we have in ourselves that we actually fight, but we are too weak to fight, right? There are companies, as we were talking about now, like Keller and Afcons, which are actually coming up with diversity trainings, diversity hiring tests, and performance-based employees, like, to improve the comfort level of everyone in the industry, to show how gender equality can work for the company, things like that. But I think these methods may not be in the long term help us fight the unconscious bias. The solution, I feel, is, for each of us to recognize our own unconscious bias and actively work to overcome that. The best way, I would say, is building relationship with others who are different from us, which can be done by mentoring, coaching, and just talking to them. I feel, treating everyone the way we want to be treated is the main thing we have to always remember. Inclusive leadership always starts with creating equal opportunities, for everyone, regardless of their differences. That's what I wanted to add right here.
Thank you, Lucky. I
I hope it
think
makes sense.
That's absolutely
we
correct.
could go on for a while with this discussion. This discussion obviously is very, very close to us at WiDF. But we are running out of time. So Tani, would you like to start summing up?
No, absolutely. It has been such a great session. I can I think I can't believe it's over now. I think I'm getting a hang that, oh, I'm not asking another question. I think I'm going to call you, Dr. Basarkar and Sridhar, for my list of questions again that is all in my mind, like after
Yeah,
this
and we
session.
have a whole bunch from the audience still.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
We would be probably trying to divert these questions individually to the panelists also, and we will try to look into a mechanism to get back to you all with the responses that we could not address within this limited session time.
Yeah, we really apologize for that. Thank you so much, Sridhar and Dr. Basarkar, for being our panelists, giving your expert opinions on, and it has been such a candid conversation. And you're one of the most passionate panelists we could ever have. So thank you for giving, answers straight from your heart. We could just feel it. Every answer's meant so much to us. Thank you so much, Dola ma'am, for co-moderating the session with me. Thank you, Lucky. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for being mentors for so many around the world and for this initiative. And thank you, the Women in Deep Foundation India chapter, for putting such great programs together. But last but not the least, our audience, thank you for being with us. Thank you for giving your questions, your valuable opinions. Please reach out to any of us for any kind of events that you want us to do, any kind of webinars that you want us to put together. And for anybody who's interested, please join us for our next monthly meeting on April 14th. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot
Tani
to the
and
moderator. Thanks a lot.
Dola. You were great moderators, and thank you for our passionate, passionate panelists. And the thing that came to my mind is like, I smell the, I smell the soil, I smell the drilling mud, and I can feel it with my. That's my favorite thing always as a geotechnical engineer. Thank you. So here are the contact information for all the panelists, moderators, and myself, and also DFI of India. Please feel free to reach out to us. We also have included the LinkedIn links. This should be a handout that is provided to you, all the attendees, and don't hesitate. You have a question, you want to be part of the movement that we are trying to take forward, please join us. Please join us. And the fourth webinar is going to be confirmed soon. We are planning to bring engineers, contractors around the world who are working in different parts of the world. To give an opinion about opportunities, what do you have outside India? How are the opportunities pursued? And what are the challenges? And what are the exciting things about the opportunities outside the India? So stay tuned, and we will be back probably in a month or so for the fourth webinar. See you all then. And if you're interested, join the Women in Deep Foundations meeting. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, Dr. Basarkar.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.